often do you find yourself saying, I'll do that one day? One day you'll have the time and money to travel. One day you'll start that business. One day you'll finally make time for yourself. What if one day never comes? Kate Christie knows what it's like to have life shake you awake. After losing her children's father to cancer, she made a decision. Stop deferring joy and start living a life by design. If you've ever listened to this show before, then you'll know that that is a philosophy we very much agree with here. So we're going to talk about how you can reclaim your time, set bold goals and design a life that fits you. That's today on Money and a Good Life. My name's Stephanie Coombs and I'm here with the co-host, my mate, and the money expert, Ryan Watson. G'day, Ryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm good. I think we're going to like this conversation.
I'm pretty excited about this conversation today. I must be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've had a guest that's more aligned with my good life than we have today.
Yeah, I agree because, again, we do talk about this a lot. We talk about the idea of not having your life on delay and making things work for you today. So I'm very excited that Kate is going to be joining us. She is the time management specialist and author and the creator of The Life List. Kate's helped thousands of people reclaim over 30 hours a month, I'd like that, and use that time to live more intentionally. Kate, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steph and Ryan.
Thanks, Kate.
Now, you've been on a mission for a while to live a better life and help people do the same, but this journey starts with a sad note. Your former partner had a tragic cancer diagnosis. What did that time teach you?
Right as COVID started, everyone had gone into lockdown in Melbourne. And around the world, I guess. And he came over to share with us that he'd had this diagnosis. It made me reevaluate. How do I want to live my life differently once we get through all of this?
Sounds like an extremely tumultuous time for you and your family.
It was horrific. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Watching your children watch their father die, I admire them so much for their strength and their resilience and the fact that they get up and keep going on. I don't know how they do it.
And also complex for you.
We'd only been separated for about 2 years when he got the diagnosis, and we'd sort of got through our financial settlement and the ugly part of a separation, and we were reforming a new relationship where we were co-parenting and becoming friends. I mean, we'd been married for 22 years. A lot of what I was going through was very complicated because people didn't know how to manage or deal with my grief because I'd kind of already lost him. Mm-hmm. And so they sort of talked all about the kids and the kids' loss. And obviously their loss was greater than mine in some respects. But people just didn't know how to manage my loss. And if I was upset about it, there was almost a level of confusion a lot of the time. But, what was I? Was I a widow? Was I an ex-wife with a dead partner? I mean, there was no label there for me.
How did that affect your life view? What happened as a result of this?
He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and within 11 months he passed away. So it was very fast. So really the period of time sort of between Christmas and April, the decline was just phenomenal. Having lost him, my daughter was doing year 12. My sons one was wanting to drop out of uni because of his grief. I was literally just holding us together. There were so many triggers. Like my daughter was working at a Baker's Delight and she came home absolutely devastated one day because there was a man who came into the shop, and when she'd looked up out of the corner of her eyes, she just thought for that tiny split second that it was her dad.
Oh, that is so sad.
And it was happening every day. It was literally, let's just survive.
Yeah.
On top of that, we still had COVID. So it was pretty much a blur.
There is a moment that you've spoken about in a boardroom, which was kind of a turning point. What happened?
That was pre all of this. That was when I left corporate world years ago. I was working as a full-time executive. My kids were younger, trying to be like a normal mum and a normal parent. I was going to drop my preppy at primary school and I rocked up, and I'll never forget it. Steph, I had the beautiful black suit on and the high heels and the red lipstick, and I literally had snot from the corner of my suit all the way down my arm because it was cupcake day. I'd missed that memo, and my preppy was hysterical. Everyone's there with their bloody trays of cupcakes and I had nothing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So we've all
Parents'
had it,
nightmare,
right?
Parents'
Totally.
nightmare.
It's when you're working full-time and the school says it's book character day. It's just like, what the hell? You make it easier for us guys.
Yeah.
So I drove to work and I was so stressed, and I rang up my mum and I said, it's cupcake day. Can you get down to the supermarket, buy some cupcakes, bash them up a bit, take them down, put some flower
Yeah.
on top. I got to this first meeting of my day and I walked into the boardroom and I was late, and they looked at their watches and then they looked at me. Then they just started talking. They just picked up from where they had been talking. And I just realised that I was the only member of the executive leadership team that didn't have a full-time stay-at-home wife. That was sort of a really pivotal sliding door moment for me where I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm not particularly being a very good executive. I certainly wasn't being a great mum. When I was with the kids, I was worried about work. When I was at work, I was thinking about the kids. There was one magnificent day where I just completely forgot to pick them up from school.
You know, I'm the child of a parent who has, I think, forgotten to pick me up from school. I survived. Well, my parents, didn't do the book week, and I remember a panicked costume being dropped off for book week or something like that, and they survived.
But the children always resent being the parent that's like that's
the guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, the guilt.
Yeah.
I remember my kids saying to me that I was the only mum who didn't come to sports day. It just ate away at me. So after this whole boardroom cupcake debacle, I remember deciding shortly after that I was going to resign from my big, beautiful job because I was wrecked with guilt. And it just so happened to be a couple of days before sports day, and I thought the timing of this could not be better. So I learnt the school song. I made pom-poms. I thought, because I'm the only mum who doesn't go. Yeah. I got down there for sports day. It started at 10 a.m. I was the only one there. I was the only one there. And what I realised was school finished at 3:15. At 3 o'clock, all the other parents came down to watch the relays. I'd literally resigned from my big, magnificent job on the strength of this, you're the only mum who doesn't come to sports day.
And it was a 15-minute window.
15-minute window. So I probably could have hung on to the role.
Little buggers.
I know. But that was their perception, right? Because they're looking around and all the other mums are there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
There was some key information. There was
like an 8-hour day that I was there.
Yeah.
And I made the most of that day. So that was good.
I bet you did.
I cheered everything, the beanbag throw and the frisbee discus.
You strike me, obviously, as someone who reflects on her own life a lot. You've written a book called The Life List. Tell me a little bit about that.
My strong skill set is I'm a time management specialist. I help people find time. And I write a column for CEO World Magazine, which is a US publication, and it's all about productivity. Sort of 6-7 months after Dan passed away, I was just sitting at the computer and I wrote this really heartfelt piece, and it was along the lines of, my husband's just died. Life is an absolute shit show and I'm going to live it very differently from now on. So here's some resolutions I've made. And then I just dot pointed sort of 50 things. I'm going to love my kids even when they're shitting me. I'm going to eat more lollies. I'm going to swear more because I love swearing. And it was this big list and it went viral. I had people from all around the world writing beautiful messages to me, very much along the lines of, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I love your life list, or I love this list. Can I do it as well? From that, I just reflected that there's something in this. I just kept playing with this idea that I don't want a bucket list anymore. A bucket list is a list of things I want to do before I die. And I don't want to wait that long. Life is too short, and I'd been brutally made aware of that. The things I want to do while I'm still young enough to live them. So I thought I'm going to write a book about that, which shares frameworks to allow other people to have a life list rather than a bucket list. Here's how to do it. Here's how to write your life list. Here's the steps. Off you go. It's become a global bestseller.
You made the decision to change your mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the same is with time and time management. When I'm talking to people about getting their time back, it's just a mindset shift. I talk about time investment rather than time management. We can't manage time. We've all got exactly the same amount. So you have to treat it the same way as you treat your money, as a very precious, limited resource that needs to be invested for the greatest possible return. And when you wake up, it's got to be, where am I investing my time today?
It's so easy today as well to waste time. Pleasure,
Doom
I suppose.
scroll,
Yeah,
doom
doom
scrolling.
scrolling, where you're not sort of paying attention. Phones have stolen, I think, a lot of time
Have you
from
looked
me.
lately, Steph, what's your average day,
I
hours allocation on
I
your phone?
share a lot on this, but I choose not to share that. Yeah, because it really is that bad.
Sorry,
so many
not to
people.
digress,
Yeah,
Kate,
sorry.
but-
No, not at all. But it's the mindlessness of it.
It is.
It's about bringing awareness back to the fact that it's become a habit. One of the easiest ways to do that is just to put a big, ugly rubber band a couple of times around your phone. So when you pick it up and you go to scroll down the face of it, you
Right.
hit the rubber band, you think, no, I don't want to do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm
'cause
thinking
it's a
those red-
physical trigger.
Yeah.
Those red lacquer bands from Australia Post.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
When I work with my clients, I do a lot of events and public speaking about time and time management. One of the things I talk to people about is who in the audience is a first responder. Who here is a police officer, surgeon, paramedic? No one puts their hands up because they're all corporate events. And I say, okay, well, who here checks their phone within 10 minutes of waking up? And every hand goes up. I say, and yet you're not a first responder. What are you actually checking it for? Even if you had this fantastic plan last night for everything you're going to do tomorrow morning and you know exactly the tasks you're going to do and you've got it all locked into your calendar and everything's raring to go, you check your phone within 10 minutes of waking up, you've lost control over your day within 10 minutes of your day starting.
Ooh, that's good.
Everything on your phone is I want, I need, where is, can you?
So, Kate, what is good phone health or good phone hygiene on a daily basis?
So firstly, don't have the phone next to your bed. Do not use your phone as an alarm. People will always say, oh, yeah, but my phone's my alarm. Well, buy an alarm clock. Use the oven alarm. That baby's,
good, 'cause you have
going
to
to get you up.
It will. And you have to
It'll
walk
be in the
into another
kitchen.
room. Yeah,
Right?
that's so good.
This is good. Okay.
Yeah, piggyback new habits onto existing good habits. Then associate not using the phone with that good habit. So my new habit is the phone's in another room. I read the paper, a physical paper, or I read my book whilst I eat my granola or whatever the good habit is.
Again, if you do wrestle this time back, then you can invest it where it should be, which does bring us back to the life list. Can we talk a little bit about then how you do help people find what should be on their life list? What's on a life list that may not be on a bucket list?
Bucket lists often tend to involve travel and adventure.
Yes.
Also kind of crazy stuff that might actually hasten your death. Like, I want to swim with sharks or I want to jump out of a plane in a parachute.
That's so true.
Yeah. So a life list is firstly something that you're not putting off till later. It's for now. And it's definitely travel and adventure form a big part of it, but there are other buckets that you need to fill. So there's your legacy. What do you actually want to leave behind for your community or for your children or your next generation or your clients? What relationships do you want to invest in? What relationships do you want to let go of? Finance is a big one. I call it wealth in the book. Making sure you've got your will sorted. Have you got medical power of attorney sorted? Have you sorted that for your parents as well? Because that often is a challenging conversation. Big one for me was after Dan and I separated, opening a bank account. Probably about 2 weeks after we'd separated, and I was doing a really big pitch to one of the big banks where I wanted to run a series of workshops for them for their women VIP clients. And I sat down with this woman I'd never met before. She was a senior executive in the private bank. She said, so lovely to meet you, Kate. How are you? And I burst into tears.
Oh, really?
Because Dan and I just separated.
Yeah.
No one had sort of really been saying, you hold it in and you hold it tight. She jumped up and she pressed a button so all the windows clouded over and she grabbed me a drink and she got me tissues and she's one of my best friends now.
Oh,
Okay.
how lovely.
But
I did want to ask how.
Yeah.
I explained to her, well, this is what's happened. And I said, I just feel so stupid because I don't know how to open a bank account. But then she gave me financial literacy lessons. Like she taught me about the different bank accounts. And I look back now and it sounds so pathetic. So it's a big one for me in the life list.
We have spoken to so many incredible, smart, powerhouse women on this podcast who have said exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
Because probably as well, you talk about investment of time. They've just decided to invest their time elsewhere.
Yeah, it's not like they're sitting on their
No.
bums doing nothing. It's just that they haven't honed that skill. The book was originally sort of pitched at women in their midlife deliberately. A, because that's where I'm at, so I know it. But B, because generationally we are the wealthiest, healthiest, most educated generation of midlife women ever. Forbes calls us super consumers. We're buying for 3 generations, our children, ourselves and our parents. We make most of the decisions in the family around important financial investments like holidays, cars, and so forth. So you've got this big generation of women who potentially have been very successful in their business or successful career women. They've got money to spend. Now, I'm not saying everybody does, but I'm saying there is a big pool of women out there who do. And so it's around making decisions with your life list that are impactful, things you wouldn't necessarily always see on a bucket list.
No.
Yeah. One of the things that you talk about is doing things that you want to do while there is still time? Like, what do you mean by there still being time?
One of the things that Dan said to me just before he died was he sort of talked in terms of the regrets that he hadn't prioritised the kids as much. You know, when we separated, he said that he wasn't going to be, you know, a Luna Park dad was his expression that he used, but he kind of went off and wasn't as engaged or involved with the kids. And he was really regretful of that. After he passed away and we met with the executors, they shared with us that he had said that he wanted me to take the kids on a holiday and we were to go anywhere in the world, but it was to be a celebration of him. He was very regretful that he hadn't prioritised them and done that himself.
Yeah.
And so we went off and we had the holiday and we talked a lot about him and it was Dad's holiday, but he missed it. Sorry, I get emotional about it.
It's worth being emotional about. It's really sad.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by do it while you can. I don't want anyone who reads the book or any of your listeners to have to face incredible loss or trauma to snap them out of malaise. I would love them to listen to this and read the book and think, I'm going to have a life list because there's things I can do right now. These are the things that are most important to me that I want to focus on. Life's too short. We cannot afford to put stuff off till later because later could be too late.
Well, and to your point, I think we all fall into that trap. I'll get to it tomorrow, or when it's like this, then I'll do that. If not now, then when?
Because we always raise the bar and we always reset the boundaries. There's never going to be a perfect time.
Yeah.
So just do it. And it doesn't have to be the radical, I'm going to quit my job and travel around the world as a gypsy. It could be things like I'm just going to be more conscious of my phone and I'm going to turn it off and be present when I'm with my kids. Or I'm going to prioritise seeing my dad. He's in his 80s. He's not going to be here forever. So that's important to me. And it's just a mindset shift, actually making a decision I'm going to do it. And a lot of people will then say, well, how do I get past that compulsion, or I guess that the resistance? If I set myself the goal, how do I actually then turn up and do it? This is one of the things I write about, which I have found very interesting, is oftentimes when we set ourselves a goal, whatever it is, you have that moment of adrenaline and it feels fantastic and it's like, oh my God, this will be amazing. The very next thing that happens is your brain will tell you all the reasons why you can't. I call them resisting forces, but I put them into two buckets: fear and lack. Fear. What if I fail? How will people judge me? What if I succeed? What if people talk about me? All the fears that we have. The other is lack. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy, I don't have the frameworks, I don't have the support. So we build up these big long lists of things we fear and lack, and that just stops us going for the goal. And so the next step you have to take is to work out what it is you value most in your life. Where do I actually want to spend my time? And once you know what's most important to you and where you want to actually spend your time, those things will bulldoze the resistance and the lack and the fear every single time.
And what I'm hearing is a real authenticity of self, like just in terms of what's true to you, removing or, minimizing what could go wrong and focusing on what could go right, because that's in real alignment with you.
I guess the good thing about it is that we can work through that stuff.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, it's not about the massive goals all the time. In the book I talk about 3 types of goals. The first is go big goals, the big, outrageous, buy a house in Italy, climb to the top of the mountain. And you want to have at least one of those on the go that you're planning towards every year. Then there's go small goals, which are the fill your cup and keep momentum going whilst you're working on the big goal. Set myself the goals of I want to walk 7,000 steps a day and I want to speak to 2 strangers every day. And then the third type of goal is go now goals, which is the acts of spontaneity where someone says, hey, do you want to? And you go, yeah.
So how has it changed, living your life to a life list and not a bucket list?
I have momentum. So by living this way, I've moved out of just living my day by rote to being very intentional and constantly chasing down goals. Sat down and worked out exactly what sort of life I want to lead. And it kind of makes you go out and find it. So I'm constantly moving forward. And it's made me so much happier.
You get out what you put in and you get what you focus on.
Kate, look, thank you so much for your time. If you're listening to this conversation and it's sparked something in you, don't wait. Life is just too precious to waste. And if you enjoyed this episode, do share it with a friend who might also like it. And follow Money in a Good Life wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time.